Yeah. Yo, welcome back to another edition of the Men Who Cry podcast. Like, subscribe, review, tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend. If you not do these things, I have to assume that you will not egg David Stern if you see him in the streets. On today's episode, we will be talking hot stove in the baseball season. A lot of moves are happening, a lot of moves that I will be crashing out about. But instead of me just talking to myself, Lane Riordan is here for a nice therapy session for me to go to for free, by the way. Lane, how are you doing today?
I'm doing better than you, probably.
Yes, you
We
are.
texted this morning, and it was just like I was at work, and I just saw the Pete Alonso news, and I was like, oh no, this could not be probably not be a better day to podcast together, but also maybe not a worse day as a Met fan in a long time. So give me the the blow by, like give me the play by play. Where's your head at? How are you feeling? Where
So
were you when you got the news? Give me all of it.
so I was at home working, and my friend sent me the text that Edwin Diaz had went to the Dodgers. And like 2 weeks ago, maybe longer, maybe 3 weeks ago, I texted one of my best friends, big Mets fan as well. And I was like, yo, bro, I'm really like nervous that if the Dodgers just give this dude the bag, he's gonna leave. Like this is like their one thing. Then the Devin Williams news came, then I was even more nervous. He was like, nah, man, we got it. So I saw the text and whatever. I was pissed, right? But I was like, damn, they probably gave him like 5 for 120. You know what I'm saying? 4 for 100, something like that. Some number in my head that I was like, damn, that's crazy. You do not understand how furious I was when I actually saw the numbers. Fucking furious. So, for those who haven't seen, Edwin Diaz is now going to the Los Angeles Dodgers on a $69 million deal for 3 years. And then the Mets said that their highest offer was $66 million, but they had, and I quote, room to wiggle. Okay. Lane, you don't understand, right? I've been a Mets fan my entire life, right? '06 was the year I officially became a Mets fan, which was not a good year to start. But I just knew this team was owned by the Wilpons, and it was just kind of beaten into me that we didn't spend money on this kind of stuff. To th- to think, but to think, I got Steve Cohen. This dude is pissing money. I don't ever have to worry about being outbid. And if you ever get outbid, okay, the Dodgers spent some ridiculous number. The fact that that was like an in-market deal and everyone was like, yeah, fine, deal is a fireable offense. I'm not even that mad about the Pete Alonso thing, to be completely honest. I can understand if you're like, look, I don't want to tie up the DH spot into a guy who's clearly aging. I have another guy who's not a good defender who I have for 14 years that I might need to be turned into a DH slash first baseman. I'm good. I'm going to let him go. I could mentally get there. But the fact that you let Diaz walk and this happened the next day, and you trade away Brandon Nimmo, you've made no the team is worse. The team won 83 games, and they're somehow worse now. Is comical. It's beyond comical, and I don't get how a dude who is acting as if his owner is on food stamps. They lost the best closer in baseball for $3 million. For $3 million.
Unacceptable.
It is the most, and people want to try to spin it and be like it's Diaz's fault. Look, man, professional sports, that business cuts both ways. They could have cut Diaz, they could trade him, they could they could do whatever they want to these guys, right? He was a free agent. He can go to any team he wanted to. He didn't get that much, relatively speaking. And letting, in my opinion, the guy that kept your sorry ass team together last year, trust me, you thought they were bad. They would have been worse if they didn't have Diaz. Worse. He was money. And now you're telling me that the guy that you beat to get to the postseason 2 years ago and that the Yankees ran out of town is now going to be my closer? Okay. All right, fam. We'll see how this goes because it is not off to a good start. It's really not.
No, it's not. There's so much to respond to there. I think I want to start with the Devin Williams versus Diaz of it all, because I think there's a really interesting point that you bring up with the way that Diaz, at least from an outside perspective, it really felt like Diaz was like a cultural touchstone as well for the team last year. Whereas like one of the only sure things when he was healthy was that Diaz was going to come in and be the guy in a team that really needed that. They like really needed they really needed that push, especially with a rotation that was like half rookies that were way too unprepared, not by their fault, just by the timeline of everything. So like half a rotation that shouldn't be there, a bullpen that was objectively insane from the get go. So like you
Shout out
needed
to Ryan Helsley. Oh, new teammate
Hell's
with
bells,
Pete
baby.
Alonso. Ryan
Hell's
Helsley,
fucking
Pete
bells.
Alonso.
Enjoy Camden, Ryan. I it feels like a emotional disaster as well to go from Edwin Diaz to Devin Williams, and that's not to say Devin Williams can't be better in a Mets jersey than he was in a Yankees jersey. I think there is some good underlying info that the short porch was totally fucking him over, and the way that he's pitching will get better as a Met in a different ballpark. But
here's the thing,
I don't
though.
know. Are you feeling that? Are you feeling what you're picking up what I'm feeling down?
I get
Like,
what you're
is
saying,
it?
Lane, but that's
Yeah.
not the point, right? Like I get that. I'm not saying that
Yeah.
Devin Williams can't be better than what he was last year with the Yankees, or could he get back to
And
being
he
the
was bad.
airbender?
He was bad with
He
the
was
Yankees.
terrible. He
Yeah.
picked it up
Plus
towards
4
the end,
ERA.
but he was
Yeah.
bad the whole year. Here's the thing that is just it's just stuck in my head as the real reason why. And this is one of the reasons why I hate that the nerds have won in a lot of different areas in the world, but specifically sports. Baseball is a sport that loves its numbers. It lives on its numbers, right? There's Keith Law. I don't know if you're subscribed to The Athletic, has an article, or he touched on like certain indicators that might indicate that Diaz was quote unquote slowing down or whatever. Like his fastball rate wasn't as high, or this, like, just little numbers like that. The reason why I hate shit like that is because it completely removes everything that I saw. Diaz got outs in big spots. I'm talking bases loaded, no outs. He had the bases loaded, no outs against the Cincinnati Reds, the team that eventually passed the Mets, and he got out of it. No runs, got out of it. Like, that's not numbers I need. That's the shit in here, okay? That's when I know, all right, you got the stones to play here. Devin Williams has shown me nothing that he's got that. The one thing about closers, and this is why I think closing is so much different than any other sport. There's a bunch of guys you can throw in the ninth inning that have 0.8 ERAs, 1.2 ERAs, all that shit. The ninth inning is different. There's that pressure. You feel it. The moment you walk the first guy, the other team feels it. They know it. Kyle Schwarber just got $150 million from the Phillies. He can't hit Diaz. He openly said it. So you let a guy walk, their best player, arguably one of their best players for your division rival. You have someone that they cannot hit, and you let him walk. Jesus fucking Christ. They're going to be, I'm fucking off it. I know they're going to be bad. I don't care if they get Kyle Tucker. I don't care. I don't care if they get Kyle Tucker. I don't care if they get
That's where I'm going.
Bellinger.
Yeah.
Baseball is way more of a vibe, and like, you got to come together sport. You play a shit ton of games. It's 162 games. All right. I already got my two best players that don't like each other. The franchise leader home runs is gone. The fan favorite Brandon Nimmo and God shows all, whatever the song he plays every single time with his MAGA self, gone. Simeon, who's batting 220 in the last 2 years, is now on the team. I am very close to just being off it.
What you're saying is so relatable in the way that only baseball can make, at least for me. I love other sports. There are other sports I follow. I'm an insanely big Blazers fan. I've just been cramming Blazers tape all year.
Shout out to Denny.
Dude, that man is so fucking good. He's so good. We robbed the Wizards. Very on brand
Statement
for
said by
fucking
many NBA players. I robbed the Wizards.
very, very on brand for the Blazers to have the best Israeli basketball player as well in the history of the league. It's just so on brand. But needless, don't need to get more into Blazers ball. There's something about the demoralizing effect that baseball can have on a person. Because I think what you're touching on is really true, is that it is not only a vibes thing for the team because of in my mind, the long season and how much downtime you have just by playing the game itself. It's so much about the energy and the camaraderie together. But that also transfers to the fans. And when you beat down a fan base in an offseason the way that this offseason has gone for the Mets, which is effectively telling them that like the last couple of years is like don't matter, and that the culture that was built or culture that felt like it was being built is over. That's such weird messaging to send to a fan base that is so ignitable. It just feels like the exact opposite way that you want to be handling it. What can happen to get you back in? What's
a great
thing?
Question. What can happen? They win the World Series.
Yeah.
I'm not even joking. Like,
yeah.
There's not like, because here's the thing. I think, and I hear this and I understand people being like, you don't see the full plan, which is fair. I don't know exactly what they're going to do. However, so far, I have nothing to believe in this GM that he's done. He had a terrible trade deadline last season. Didn't really sign Juan Soto. If you really look at it, Steve Cohen signed Juan Soto because he said, screw it, I'm getting this guy. And technically, he didn't really even sign Pete Alonso back. He got him. His imprint on this team hasn't been felt at all. And I am very nervous exactly what he's going to do, because it's what I said before. He is essentially made the thing that's the advantage for him a disadvantage. Why wouldn't you spend the money on Diaz? Because, and then people will say, well, what if he breaks down in a year or two? If he breaks down in a year or two, you cut his ass and you get someone else because you have the money to do so. That's what the money, people always talk a lot of times is like, man, athletes go through a lot of things, and they do. I'm not poo-pooing the things that people say because they say crazy things. But always the alternative to that, or the retort to that, is that's what the money's for. In this situation, I don't care if Diaz was going to break down in 2 years. One, I don't know if that's true or not. And two, that's what the money's for. Pay his ass to go home. You get someone else in. I don't actually know if there's a pathway for me to really believe that this team can now contend. You're going to have Milwaukee. I know they're about to trade Freddie Peralta, but they've been good all the time. The Phillies aren't going anywhere. And if I don't actually believe in their core, they're there. The Braves turned it around completely the second half of the year. They're going to be good. You still got the Padres, who are going to be good. Obviously, the Dodgers. I just named you 6 teams. There's one spot. I didn't even mention the Cubs. Like, it's going to be such a interesting moment, because here's the thing now. This is now, it's not just this Lindor's team. This is also Soto's team. And the reason why I was so kind of big on them adding Soto was because I felt like he didn't have to do any of that leadership stuff. In the wise words of Laura Ingraham, shut up and dribble, shut up and hit the ball. Nimmo's gone, Pete's gone. Those were big voices in the locker room. It can't, and now, and again, McNeil's going to be gone too. It's Lindor and Soto's left. And from all indications, he is not a very rah, 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 come get behind my back kind of guy. So I do not feel good at what's going to happen. And I'm being so serious. For me to even really like believe in this thing, I got to see them win the division, which they have not done in 10 years. So, yeah.
Is there anything you briefly mentioned this, and it's I want to get to the Dodgers side of this and to some of the other free agency stuff, but it's the last thing that I want to touch on specifically with the Mets. The Kyle Tucker of it all. He's
Yes.
not going to be a Cub. There's no way. There's no way the Ricketts family is paying him. They won't.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, he's either a Dodger or he's a Met. And that this is the move that they're making is that
I
they're
can't
they're
see him
they're
going to the
paying Kyle
Dodgers.
Tucker. Why not? That's my thing. Why wouldn't
But
he?
where is he going
He's
to
a
play? They already have like
they'll
four
just they'll just
outfielders.
they'll just trade one of their outfielders for another arm. Why not? I don't know. Like,
I mean,
why wouldn't they if they could? You know, because
I'm not
that's the
saying.
thing.
Yeah. I guess I'm not saying that they like your point is right. I guess it's just for me. It's like it's not even a gluttony thing. I just don't know if he wants to go there and be what they're like fifth best player, seventh best player, sick. Like he's not. I mean, well, I guess it depends on Mookie because
It
he's going
depends
to
on
be
the year.
great.
He could be their second best player easily. Like, and
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
back. Yeah.
yeah.
Like, because a good Kyle Tucker is like an elite hitter, and he actually does bring one thing that they don't really have, which is like it's what Freddie used to do, and Freddie's still a great player, but it's the utility of being a pull home run, but also a doubles guy who can pull the ball so well. Um, and they need that. That like that lineup like could benefit from that. I mean, any lineup could benefit from that. But if you're looking at it from specifically like a roster construction point of view, like Freeman is on the latter side of 30, and Mookie is who knows what Mookie's going to be
I
next
mean,
year. So
Mookie
it's like,
might he low key might
yeah.
be hitting that wall. So,
So
uh,
it's time in my mind for them to retool, which I'm sure that they're thinking too, because they're the best run organization in baseball.
yeah. I mean, look, because of the money they have, I can never just poo poo it. But then it's going to go back to another thing of like, okay, is this really the guy you want to spend
Yeah.
400 million on, 450? Like, I have no idea how much Kyle Tucker's going to get. And is that enough to get the fan base going? Me personally, what I think will get the fan base to go back to your question, I think that signing someone like Tucker, because they need to sign a bat now, right? So
Yeah.
because they lost Pete, they're going to have to find a way to replace the 30-something home runs and 120 RBIs. So I would assume that Tucker is probably going to be on the team, or at least they're going to try like hell to get him. I can see Bellinger being there, but Bellinger's just not that. He's not that kind of power hitter.
No. Yeah.
So that could be, I guess, like a thought process of it. I think the way that they get fans back is to get them in love with one of their young prospects, right? Noah McLean came up and was dominant, right? The only thing that kind of gave the Mets any type of jolt was their three rookies, right? Jonah Tong, Noah McLean, I forgot my other guy's name, but those guys kind of came up and were like kind of fine. Noah McLean was great. The other two guys were like kind of okay. And I think fans will fall in love with like a young kind of guy coming up. It'll be tough because he's a pitcher and rookie pitchers will struggle at some point. I'll never forget when Jacob deGrom gave up like 6 or 7 runs or something like that. Like I think it was his second year. And Terry Collins was like holding him because he was like crying. the next year he goes back to back Cy Young awards, and he will struggle. My biggest thing though is that would have to happen, and they need to have some type of locker room shift. And this might seem stupid, I know, but like I said, it's a vibe thing. I need them to get some. I need them to bring in the Jose Iglesias of 2026. I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
I don't know where that guy is around, but they need that like vibes. I'm going this way kind of guy, because you can just tell that team was just like falling apart at the seams. And I don't know where they find that guy, but that to me is the only way that this is going to like work out, because it's not going great. It's not going great right now.
No, it's not. I will be watching with bated breath to see how this season goes. I'm not anticipating it being super smooth. Um,
Well, as a Mets fan,
yeah.
that's how they like it. I've literally never had a season where I expected them to be good and they were good, and all the season I expected them to be bad, they were either terrible or good. Great way to go it. But as we already spoken about, we already talked about two of the free agents that came off the board. Edwin Diaz, 3 for 69 to go to the Dodgers. Pete Alonso, 155, 5 years, who signed with the Baltimore Orioles. That's a interesting little bit of money. But we also had Kyle Schwarber getting 5 for 150 to go back to the Philadelphia Phillies. 33 years old, getting a 5-year deal. Shout out to him. Dylan Cease with probably the most craziest deal of them all. 7 years, 210 to go to the Blue Jays, the defending AL pennant winners. Of the deals that have happened so far, the major deals, right? Like obviously we've had the Brandon Nimmo trade and things like that, if you want to include that as well. What has been your favorite deal that has been done so far during the winter meetings?
My favorite deal is the last one you mentioned is the Dylan Cease deal, specifically because it signals to me that the Blue Jays are not done trying. And to me, that's just pure excitement. But I did love that team, and I'm really glad that they're not just like, let's just run it back and hope that things go well. Um, that bullpen and that in general was just a bizarre group of guys that needed a bigger arm and a bigger like high leverage starter. And Dylan Cease, while being maybe not that, he has the ability to get there and has shown flashes enough that it's like I see the momentum and the thought process behind the deal in a way that I like. And so for me, that's really why I like it, is that it just feels like the Jays give a fuck. And anytime an organization that doesn't always seem like they give a fuck decides to give a fuck, I like it. Um, what do you think? Where are you at with Dylan Cease? Do you think he can do it in Toronto?
So Dylan Cease is a very odd case for me, because I remember when he was on the White Sox and the White Sox were terrible. And then eventually he got traded to the Padres through, I believe, the second in history no hitter for the Padres. Yeah. Because Musgrave threw the first one. But I think Dylan Cease is a great number 3 starter, a good number 2 starter, and not a very good number 1 starter. Now, their rookie, I forgot his name, but he was really good for them, and I believe that's going to be their starter to start the season, or their ace in quotations to start the season. But there's gonna be a lot of pressure on them, on him specifically, Dylan Cease, to like get them back to the World Series, where there's like no guarantee for it. I think that Toronto is, like you said, they're spending the money. Um, they, I guess, were never really in the Edwin Diaz sweepstakes, because that was the other team I was worried about, was the Blue Jays stealing Diaz and going up north, because you could argue if they had like a better closer, they're World Series champions right now. Um, it'll be interesting to see how he adapts to a new league, going back to the AL, even though you can argue that doesn't matter as much because just interleague play happens throughout the season. But I'm curious about it, because now it's like everyone in the division is kind of going for it, right? You have the Orioles to spend a bunch of money, we just mentioned before, on the two guys that they spent on. Um, The Red Sox will see if they're going to re-sign Bregman. I think they are, but I guess you're not sure. And I kind of think they might be a Kyle Tucker team as well. Yankees, still the Yankees got to bring back Bellinger if they can. The only team that's really kind of just laying out like they always do are the Rays, right?
And
So
they'll probably win 85 games just because
just
they're the
like always,
Rays.
somehow, some
Yeah.
way, it's like the Rays are
Yeah.
in the playoffs again
Yeah.
every year. So I think the Blue Jays did the move because they really, like you said, they're going for it, right? It's like this is our time right now. We got Vlad to keep in. I also think that Bobichet's probably out of there because of that. But listen, you never know. I can't count their pockets. Um, but it is definitely a move that I'm curious about them going through. I also do want to talk about some other guys who are still free agents. I got to write off Pete Alonso. Yuck. So we just talked about Kyle Tucker a little bit. Cody Bellinger is still out there. Ranger Suarez, Zach Gallen. Who do you believe will get the next, I guess, big deal? It can be a pitcher. It can be, one of the hitters. Who do you think's like the next kind of guy to get like a contract where we go, whoa, he's worth how much?
I think it's probably Zach that gives us that surprising feeling because we're going to get
Starting
Kyle
pitching,
Tucker
man.
and it's always crazy because Zach was not a great pitcher last year. He was I'm guessing he was probably about a 500 pitcher. Not that that really matters, but he had
Yeah.
like a
I
mid
think
four
his
to a
ERA
high
was at
four.
4. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's high fours. So it's like, but that's the thing with pitching is that it's so like regressive and progressive that like year to year in the right environment, you can completely change. And that happens less with starting pitchers. Obviously, that's way more of a reliever situation, but you still see it with starting pitchers. Um,
Zach
and
Gallen,
so I think Zach is,
4.83 ERA
yeah,
last season.
yeah. So it's the type of thing where I think his number, I don't know what his number is going to be, but I think it's going to be higher than whatever I think it would be worth. Like, I probably would want to give Zach, you know, 2 years, 20 million max each year. So 2 years, 40 total. Like, I
Yeah,
don't
but
want to
he's
give him
not taking
anything.
that.
Yeah. So it's like, but also, I don't know. He's going to get probably 4 years, 100 million or something like that. And my jaw is going to be on the floor because it's like, Zach Gallen, really? But it's all about possibility with pitching. And so I think at the right fit, the right team feels like they're going to be able to get the most out of him. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the other interesting thing for me is that I feel like it's with Pete off the board, it's like what teams really need a bat and are willing to spend money to get either Cody or get Kyle Tucker, who's in an upper echelon for what bats are left. Um, I think it's really, really limited. So I think, the Red Sox, the Yankees, the Mets, and you're kind of looking at just a little cluster in the Northeast there.
Yeah. I'm very fascinated to see where Bellinger goes because he oddly, I think he's the more versatile player of the two. Not saying he's better than Kyle Tucker, but he can play first base. He can play left field. He can play different. He can play center field, and he kind of now has a good. It's odd because I think what happens is, and we can get into the Yankee discussion later, is it very much seems that the Yankees are having a self cap, right? They don't want to go past a certain threshold, and because of that, if you look at all the Yankees numbers, they can only really give Bellinger like under $30 million a year. So if you know that like a team and they need him back, and you now look at the Mets are kind of like, all right, like they desperately now need a left fielder because of the Nimmo deal, plus them losing Alonso. Does Cody kind of have to wait for Tucker to take a spot and then he goes back to the Yankees? Because I think there's 2 spots left for those guys. I think one's going to the Mets and I think one's going to the Yankees. I don't know which one of the 2 is. I would assume it's going to be Tucker, Mets, Cody, Yankees. But, there's always a surprise team out there, right? Like there were reports that the Red Sox were in on Pete Alonso. Um, and if you're in on Pete Alonso, it
You're
would
gonna
make
be,
sense.
yeah,
Yeah, it'll make sense for you to be be in on Bellinger. Like he can play first base if you need him to. I forgot the guy who tore his patella tendon. He's probably gonna be out for still a
Yeah.
long time.
Yeah.
Their first baseman last season. So yeah, I think I'm fascinated to see where those two guys go because I think they have almost a domino effect on the other one. It's kind of like what happened with Schwarber and Pete, right? Schwarber signed like a day ago, and then Pete signed the next day, right? So we'll see which
If
like
you
those
could,
two.
if you could
Go
choose
ahead.
a team, where do you want him? Where do you want him? If you could choose any team in the league.
For Kyle.
Yeah. Yeah. Like what's best fit for you? What do you think?
Kyle's a left-handed hitter, right? I mean, obviously, if you have a left-handed hit, you're going to the Yankees, right? But I
Yeah.
believe the Yankees said that they want to get more right-handed.
Why?
Because they have a shit ton of left-handers.
Lefties? Yeah.
Yeah, they have a lot of lefties. So Brian Cashman came out and said that. Uh, that's a great question. I mean, selfishly,
Yeah. You
I
want him as
want to.
man. Yeah.
Oh, my fucking
Yeah.
team, right? Like I got to
Yeah.
replace 30 bombs a year, right? And like
Yeah.
120. So I don't necessarily know if there's a good fit. The thing is about it is like I was actually thinking about Cody going to the Cubs, but he was already there, and I don't think
Yeah.
that went well with him. So
I mean,
it's odd.
he
He
was
has a
pretty
very
good.
odd space because they're teams that he's basically played in big markets. Played for the Dodgers, played for the
Yeah.
Cubs, played for the Yankees, and like he's had a very odd career. He won MVP, then basically got cut, then went to
Yeah.
the Cubs, didn't play great, then he kind of finally like got it back this year. And I would say him going to the Cubs would be a good spot, but I feel like they don't fuck with him, you know?
I
Um
it's so odd. I agree. He played okay. He was good. He wasn't bad. He was objectively not bad. I think that I would be shocked just by the way that the Cubs are spending money. We don't want anyone past 27 it seems because the most likely scenario being a lockout. They have Dansby and like two other guys and everyone else is on shorter contracts. Obviously they're going to need to lock up PCA, but it's very limited who they're allowing to be post 2027. So I would be shocked if they signed Belly. I think I would love to see if Tucker's not going to be a Cub. I'd love to see him in a Red Sox jersey. To me, that just feels unbelievably like a perfect combination of player versus vibe of place. I just can
yeah.
imagine him in October hitting just the most beautiful, beautiful Kyle Tucker swing double off the wall. Like I would love to see him on that Red Sox team. I'm also
Yeah.
I want that team to win. I just want that team to win that division. I believe in them. I don't know. I believed in
I
them
mean,
last
listen,
year. Yeah.
I know we believed in them last year. I was there
I
too, man.
know. Fuck. That's so
Yeah.
annoying.
I mean, listen, to be fair, they turned it around.
They
Around
did.
because
Yeah.
when they first started, we were like, ugh. Yeah. No, I agree. I think the Red Sox, I mean, it'll be interesting to see their Anthony Ramos or
Yeah.
their rookie that they had last year
Roman
unfortunately got
Anthony.
hurt. Roman Anthony,
Yeah.
that's what it was. I know I had it right.
Yeah.
Roman
Flopped him.
Anthony.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, he had like a knee injury or whatever, and he couldn't play in the postseason. That really
Yeah.
screwed them. I think obviously he looked great when he was playing. So I figure that he'll, keep that trajectory going. Let's see if they bring back Bregman, because that might be where all the money goes for them. But yeah, I think Kyle Tucker will help any team that he goes to.
Of course.
And I think that fit makes a lot of sense. And to me, I think Cody, like I said, I think we're kind of in. It's one thing about baseball. We just talk about the big market teams. I think that they
Yeah.
are in kind of a triangle of it. It's like either the two New York teams or the Red Sox. Like that's where
Yeah.
those three kind of guys are gonna, or two
Slot
guys
into
rather,
place.
like gonna kind of slot into place. Sliding over, we did talk a bit about the Yankees. We talked just about Cody doing that, but I'm curious about what your thoughts on this. Did you see or hear anything about this Brian Cashman interview that took place like about 2 weeks ago now, 3 weeks ago?
Is this the interview where they're basically like, we don't have money? Like
Essentially,
the revenue one
yes,
that
the revenue conversation.
Yes, I have followed this conversation.
Okay.
The poor Yankees need handouts in Mom Donnie's New York. They're
Listen,
terrified.
listen, bro.
Big
You don't
Z is
understand.
going to steal all their revenue.
We in
It's so
Madani
hard to
stand,
make
bro.
money. Yeah.
We in Madani stand, bro. We praying at noon. Okay.
Every
You
day.
lucky to find me every day, son. You gonna hear the bell somewhere. We gonna install a bell and the Empire State Building. Check it out, bro. If I don't see anyone rock, we in Sharia law now, bro. Birkins everywhere,
It's
everywhere.
Birkins and
Okay,
Birkenstocks. Yeah.
Birkins and
It's
Birkenstocks, bro. All on Fifth Ave. All right, know where it's at. Okay, Denver out, Denver out, DV. When Portland comes to the New York for the
yeah.
Knicks, he gonna be like, I don't feel comfortable here.
I'm going back to Portland.
I'm going
Yeah.
back, bro. Take me home.
Yeah. He's gonna get a coach's DNP that night. Yeah.
Coach's DMB religion. Just out here, son. Madani stand.
Tiago
Big
knows.
balling.
Yeah.
No, yes. So for those of you who don't know, Al Steinbrenner, the controlling owner of the Yankees, did an interview with Joe Sherman. To paraphrase, he basically said that the Yankees don't really make money like that, right? Now, a couple things, and this will actually kind of tie into the last thing we'll also talk about, right? I understand what he's saying, right? At the end of the day, everyone knows this is like for business, right? Like the Yankees are not like Steve Cohen, right? Or what the Dodgers were, where they made money doing something else, or they're like a private equity business and they are strapped with all this cash, right? The Yankees make money kind of like the Lakers um, through the Lakers and through the Yankees, right? The Lakers just sold like in the summertime. But this article got really, out there because the Yankees are just obsessed with spending the most money, right? And I've always made this point: it's just because you spend the money or the most money doesn't mean that you are going to win, right? It doesn't guarantee you anything. Even in the long run, people always say, well, over time it will, but that's not necessarily true. Can you outspend some of your problems? Sure. But if you sign bad players to bad deals and they get hurt, you're going to have this issue. So, my real question to you, and this is kind of speaking almost as a larger point about sports going forward, do you think the Steinbrenners can afford to run the Yankees anymore?
It depends on how they want to be perceived, I think. Because to me, the kind of, the virtue signaling that they're sending us is that they're setting up for this big fight in a couple of years. And the fact that there is not going to be any of the daily revenue that they're used to. They're not going to get the TV money and the jersey sales of the season and all the shit, all the food, the revenue, the tickets, everything that's going to come from when a lockout happens. And to me, what's happening right now is that the Yankees are facing, for maybe the first time in 25 years, 50 years, that they can be outspent by other people. And other
Not
teams
just
are
one team,
willing.
multiple teams.
Exactly. Yeah. Multiple teams will outspend them and like take their lunch like they did with fucking Juan Soto. And they're trying to do a sort of market correction on public opinion around them. That's what it reads like to me. That they want to be seen in a new light. That they, that running a baseball team is hard, and that they're not just rolling in cash, and to spend the most money is not actually the most important thing. But at the end of the day, with Yankee fans and with the Yankees brand and concept as a whole, winning is everything. Winning is the bottom line, and they haven't won. So it whatever they want to sell at the end of the day doesn't matter because it's not good enough for what the the Yankees NY hat represents.
Yeah. So I have kind of two thoughts about this, and this is honestly, I think this discussion is making me have um a question about a belief I've had for a long time. I'd never believed in a salary cap, right? We're in a capitalistic society. When things go up, everything should go up. I've always felt that salary caps are just ways to suppress wages. It's just part of it. Like you have a salary
We've
cap
talked
for a
about it
reason.
here. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. However, and I'm not blaming the Dodgers for this. I think it's hilarious. The Yankees are now asking for limits on spending money. Hilarious times that we live in. But as the world has changed and economics has changed, and how we have evolved, and the price of the brick has gone up. Shout out to the Wire. I don't think I don't think that a lot of these teams can survive without a salary cap. The only reason why the Lakers were able to be run by the Buss family for so long, even after Dr. Buss passed away, and they were able to essentially keep up with the Joneses, was the fact that there was a salary cap. Could you imagine if there was no salary cap and LeBron James was a free agent? He would make what Juan Soto got. Steph Curry hit free agency. You know, Kevin Durant. These players would be making potentially double the contracts that they have now. And I'm all for that. The other issue, though, is, and it's interesting because you read a story. I read a story in Yahoo Sports, which is talking about how Utah football is going to be, or Utah, or rather the University of Utah is going to be the first college team to allow private equity money to come into play. And that to me was where things get a little funny. Anytime private equity money comes in, and I'm not going to go on a tangent about why that might be bad for a school. They can take out stake in a school, which is a whole different conversation. But my point is like, it's not good when it's almost like a shadowy figure. There's no name or face to who owns your sports league or your sports team, right? And the second thing I think is most important is that once it gets like a private equity fund or anything like that, it's never being sold again. They'll have the money unless, I don't know, God forbid, the sport tanks and for whatever reason everyone stops watching it. It's never going to be into the public's trust or the ability for the public to use. So I do not think that the Steinbrenner family will be able to keep the Yankees running the way that it's running. They've already sold off pieces of it, making money from it. The next step, which is when you know the money's bad, is if they talk about making it, instead of Yankee Stadium, it's City Life Stadium, or it's Target Stadium, right? Or whatever, right? They sell the name out to a company. And I just fear that like their inability to do any of these big time deals is going to come back to haunt them, which is why, and we can get into this conversation now, I do think they're going to side with the small markets, and I think they're going to implement a salary cap. And I see the reasons why, as I just explained to you, why that it makes sense for them to do so. But at the same time, like I said before, it suppresses wages. And I'm very anti suppressing wages. And so there's going to be a real big fight on their hands to think that even the big boys, the Yankees, the Cubs, probably the Red Sox are going to be pushing for this salary cap in the sport.
I hear you. I'm trying to understand a situation in which a salary cap ends up actually being a good thing for baseball in the long run. Because to me, it feels like an excuse for big market teams to not spend a lot of money, like the way that my Chicago Cubs are doing constantly. And a scapegoat for smaller market teams to be like, well, we can't spend more than our means, which is what they say already. Obviously, there has to be, it will be most likely, if it happens, it will be somewhat like hockey where there's the floor and the ceiling, because I just don't think that they would be able to get get it across the line with the MLBPA at all if there isn't like a pretty high floor. I just don't foresee a situation in which it goes well because it feels like another bargaining chip for the ruling class of baseball that time and time again shows that they really, really only give a fuck about like money. So it just terrifies me, man. Terrifies me that
But that's the
the
thing too.
sport
It's
could, yeah,
you're terrified of it, but then are you potentially terrified of like? I mean, I was afraid that like what's it? The people who own Live Golf, the Saudi Arabia fund,
yeah,
is now in your sports leagues, right? And now it's like, okay, we're getting into real dark money and like places that like we haven't seen before. I agree. I think for the small markets, the Cincinnati's, the Pirates, and places like that, I think obviously having a salary floor would be the starting point, and the agreed upon salary floor of like you have to spend this amount of money to do so. But I think the other thing that has to be the case is they're going to have to get rid of the service time. I think that if the players agree to this, that has to be cut. It has to be like, okay, either you're getting rid of it or you cut it down significantly, right? Like the longest you can have like an NFL player without giving them a second contract is 5 years. The longest you can give an NBA player without getting a second contract is 4 years, depending on if they're a first round pick or a second round pick. You can go 7 years without getting paid, and then you have to go through arbitration to fight for your money to get back. So if they do that, they're going to have to completely redo the whole system in terms of when they come up and not having to interrupt the service time for players so they can actually get to free agency, because that's the biggest thing about baseball is at best your team you hit free agency one time, right? Lindor is never going to hit free agency again. um, Soto's never going to hit free agency again. Aaron Judge, Kyle Tucker, these are all their one and dones. You rarely see a guy. I mean, Cody Bellinger hitting free agency multiple times is rare, especially for a guy that caliber. And the reason why is because he had to get cut, like his performance didn't live up to his standards. So I agree. I think this is a tough issue, especially in this sport. I just think it's gonna happen, man. I once the big market teams, and again, when the Yankees are siding with the
yeah.
Pirates, that's gonna be because again,
Hell
if you're
hath
like for
frozen
me,
over.
exactly, like for me, Mets fan, I don't give a ball. Apparently, my owner doesn't want to spend $3 million extra dollars, but before that, I'm like, screw that. I want to be able to pay the guy how much I want to pay him, and then we can work out the details later. I don't care that the Pirates can't afford shit. Sell the team
Yeah.
or put money into the team. Like it's just that's the way it works.
Yeah, I do. You're very right. When the big market teams, when Hal is telling us that they don't have the money to run the Yankees properly, that is probably a good sign that we are heading towards the cap. Um, yeah, it feels like it would be such a fundamental change in the sport that it would be a long lockout. I feel like that 27 season would look very weird. Um, and this 26 season might be the last, might be the last in quotes there, normal baseball we have for who knows how long.
Yes, baseball. The one thing that it always gives us: people making a lot of money and lockouts. I think I've lived through three baseball lockouts, not including the one coming up. Yeah,
Yeah,
96,
the union, man,
2020
strong.
technically was a lockout, and then I think they had another
Yeah.
one like in 21 or 22. So yeah, baseball. What a time. All right. That's all the time that we have on the pod. Lane, tell the people where they can find your great writing and other works at.
Yeah, you can find me on Substack at Lane Riordan. I just covered my favorite films and least favorite films of the year. Um, Talked a lot about One Battle. Talked a lot about some real shitters as well. But you can find all of that on Substack.
Can
And
can you spoil and tell me what? Can you just tell me one in the top five? You don't tell me number one. No, I want
totally,
people to go to it.
yeah, there's a film that came out this year called Sorry Baby, by a directorial debut by Ava Victor, who's a writer and comedian based in LA. And they wrote a piece about a very, very incredible script about a like campus like sexual violence case. It's like an incredible dark comedy about being, 20 and having the worst thing in the world happen to you.
Did
It's
I
a
see this movie? Probably not.
You should catch it. It's awesome. It's on HBO now. I recommend everyone go seeing it.
Well, HBO is about to
Um,
be owned by
Dude,
someone at some point. This is what
I
I'm talking about,
I have
bro.
been
Everyone owns everything.
crashing out this week. I can't even describe this. It's been so stressful. I know it has nothing to do with me, but the two options are state-sponsored media that runs like the TV networks and the two biggest fucking filmmakers in the world, or Netflix, and it's all over. Then movies are over. So it's like great options. Great
Yeah,
options.
it would be crazy. It's almost like we should have governments to put in antitrust laws, right? But
You would
you
imagine.
would think
Yeah.
that, right? Yeah, that's also terrifying. Yeah, there's a clip going around of someone like watches a dude sitting down watching a movie. It's like 2026 movie experience, and it's like Netflix. Then it
Yeah.
switches over to HBO. Then it switches over to
Yeah.
Warner Brothers. Then it switches over to Pixar. Then it switches over to
Yeah.
Hulu. And I'm like, yo, it's like Skydance pops in. It's like, yo,
It's everybody.
did you?
It's
But
all
you
one
heard
company.
Netflix said they were trying to. When they said they were trying to buy Disney, I was like, okay, that's a
They're
level
talking
of
shit. Yeah.
no. I don't even know
Yeah.
if they're talking shit. It's just like the hell's going on.
I
Okay,
know.
I will just leave it as my favorite movie of the year. Still didn't get
Yeah.
topped with Sinners. Um, it
It
almost got topped a
it's
couple times.
it's it's easily in my top five, and probably the most fun I had at the movies, easily. Yeah.
Exactly. Watching
Amazing movie.
vampires and sex. All right. Thank you guys again for listening to the Men Who Cry podcast. Like I said, like, subscribe, review, and I'll be back talking to you guys next week. Peace, y'all.